to the max. And I'll get started. I'm at a 50. I'm concerned at about a 50 for the Niners. Look, the Rams, Cards, Packers, Bucks, Cowboys, there are 5 teams that are going to make the playoffs, right? So there are 2 spots left in the NFC. 7 are going to the playoffs. The Saints and the Vikings, okay, so that's 2. Are we sure they're better than the Niners if Jimmy G can get into a rhythm and stay healthy? I'm not sure. So am I concerned? Yes, there's a good chance they don't make the playoffs, but I'm not all the way to the max of my concern yet. Jeff, what are you, 0, 50, or to the max level of concern for the Ravens?
I'm at 50 here as well. I just feel like the injuries are mounting up for the Ravens. And again, this is offense and defensively. You've seen the way they played the Bengals. Humphrey he had a rough day at the office. When you look at him offensively, running the football was a problem. They got after Lamar Jackson, sacked him 5 times, I believe, and pressured him even more. And again, when you're talking about a team in your division that puts it on you the way they did, I'm at a 50 just because of the injuries for the Ravens.
Okay, you didn't even know Jeff Saturday was still here. And so is Graziano, Dan Graziano. How concerned are you about the Chiefs?
Going to the max on this one, and mainly because when you ask people, I talk to people who scouted them, people with teams that have played them, and say, what do you think's wrong with the Chiefs? They give you a list of things. Like, it's not just like they start talking about the offense and does he trust his protection and does he have a relationship with a receiver other than, Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelce? And then they haven't even got to the defense yet, which has been a major source of their issues so far this year. So look, I say to the max because certainly it's entirely possible, maybe even likely, that the Chiefs get it together and get to the playoffs, but that's not what the Chiefs are trying to do, right? They're trying to win the Super Bowl, and right now they look like they have a lot of questions to answer before they can think about that.
Jeff and Dan, the reason I'm not I hear everything you're saying, it makes sense, Dan. The reason I'm not all the way to the max on concern for the Chiefs is they spent so many of their resources on that offensive line in the offseason, including Humphreys falls to them, they got tackles, and they got... That sometimes takes a minute to gel. And Spagnuolo's defense, I'm a Giants fan, I know, can sometimes look much different by the end of the year than in the beginning. Now, they don't have the horses on defense up front, I get it, and the pass rush is getting pressure on Mahomes. They don't have to blitz. But I think that can improve as the year goes on, no?
I'd say I'm concerned because of what defenses are playing against them. You're having them play 81% with 2 high safeties, which basically means they're challenging the Chiefs to run the ball or play check down Charlie. And the problem for the Chiefs offense is they're built to score and they want to be in track meets, but the defense can't keep up with that. And it's different in the past because with Patrick Mahomes and what they were doing, teams only gave him that type of coverage about 38% so they could have the big strikes to Hill and Kelce to make those plays. But now defenses can get pressure with 4 and just settle back and make them earn it. I played an offense with Peyton Manning where defenses began to do this to us, and it is frustrating for high-powered offenses. And then you look over to the other side of your football team, and they're not slowing anybody down. It gets concerning, puts more pressure on you offensively. Now you're seeing turnovers, right? So I appreciate your calmness. I'm not nearly as calm because Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy are going to have to prove to me that they're willing to call these plays, and then Patrick Mahomes is going to have to execute them playing that check-down mentality.
Dan, what are you hearing about that? When people say, has the league caught up to this guy? Has the league caught up to that guy? No. Was there something in what Bowles did in the Super Bowl, of course, when he was missing both his starting tackles, where you get pressure without blitzing, so you've covered guys, and is that what's going on? What are you hearing, Dan?
It sounds more like it's about the coverage, right? Teams are playing a couple of safeties over the top, trying to take Tyreek Hill away. And Mahomes has actually talked about this in press conferences, saying he needs to do a better job of taking what's being offered in terms of that short and intermediate stuff. So at this point, he just hasn't done it consistently enough. And some of the issues they're having there are resulting in a lot more turnovers than we're used to seeing from him. So, yeah, getting pressure, obviously, with the front 4 is a big part of it. A lot of times that's easier said than done. Schematically, it looks like teams are really focused on Tyreek Hill and trying to limit the damage he can do.
Yeah, by the way, I know I've heard there's talk. Michael Irvin said it on First Take, my old show, First Take, yesterday. The dynasty's over. It's not a dynasty yet, but guys, we still may be in the middle of a Chiefs dynasty. Like, if the Chiefs in the next 4 seasons go to the playoffs 3 times and win a Super Bowl in there somewhere, the future with the team remains in doubt. NBA analyst Tim Legler joins me now. Legs has mentioned another game without their star point guard, forward, whatever you want to call him, Just what do you make of how the 76ers have handled this whole situation?
I just think that they completely overplayed their hand. They misplayed and miscalculated Ben Simmons' intentions the entire time. I really genuinely believe they thought at some point over the summer he would maybe have a change of heart and want to come back and play. I think the approach you're taking when you start to literally force a guy back to the court when he's been this clear for 3+ months that he never wanted to play for the organization again, I think you've done your organization, your team a complete disservice by allowing this to trickle into the season. It's now a distraction for this team, and more importantly, you're playing games now without an all-star caliber forward, and you haven't replaced them. And you've got one of the most dominant players on your roster in Joel Embiid, and you're expecting to win now, and you just take an all-star off the court without any production in his place. So now here we go. We're sitting in limbo, and Daryl Morey says he is committed to letting this go on as long as possible because he's not going to take back a lesser deal than he has intended for Ben Simmons.
So I want to get to that in a second, but I think underneath it all, what this is about, it's not even about his play when they lost, right? Because you could look at Doc Rivers playing a bench unit that was getting slaughtered in that series, right? It's about the fact that he won't shoot. Like, he refuses to shoot the ball. So don't the Sixers kind of have the moral high ground with the fans? Wouldn't you think that the organization has that leverage with Simmons?
Oh, they definitely do. And actually, that's why I think Ben Simmons knew before he even hit the shower after Game 7 against that Atlanta series that he could never take the floor again in a Philadelphia uniform because you can't fool the people in Philly. The fan base, the media, the organization, the coaches, he was laid bare and exposed as having a fragile psyche. It's more than just not shooting. He's actually at the point, because of his fear of missing and fear of failure, he's not even processing the game the right way.
Yeah.
And now you're actually hurting your team offensively, and he knew it. And that's why he knew he needed a fresh start somewhere else, and the Sixers are just willing to call him out on it.
So let me run this by you, Legs. Okay,
right.
So the Blazers are struggling at 1-2 this season, along with point guard Damian Lillard. Small sample size, I know. Lillard's great. Over 3 games, Lillard's averaging 17 points. He's shooting 36% from the field. And the reason I bring up Damian Lillard, we just talked about Simmons, and I've been saying the history of the NBA and trades is the winner of the trade is the guy who gets the best player in the trade, right? And Daryl Morey's on the record explicitly, publicly stating, I don't want just a guy, a jag,
right.
Basically. I want a difference maker. Here's what I'm proposing, Legs. If you use Simmons straight up, you're never going to get a guy like Damian Lillard, right? You're not going to get the best player in the trade. What if you expanded the trade? Thibault, already an all-NBA defensive kind of player. He might be the best defensive player if he stays healthy for years in the NBA. Maxey, a nice playmaking guard, right? A first-round pick, and Simmons. Is there enough stuff there, even if you have to include a third team, that you could wind up with a guy who maybe wants out like a Damian Lillard?
That's about as good a haul as I've heard. I do think that would be enough. Certainly, I think if you're Portland, getting all that back, because it all comes down to me, that deal on Maxey's upside. And I think Maxey has a chance to really be a very good player in this league, more like a combo guard than a pure point guard. You improve defensively exponentially with Simmons and Thibault out there, and you get a pick. That should be enough for Lillard. The only problem I have with it, in looking at Portland, I do say then, well, where then is the focal point of your offense? Like, think about it. Their entire
I say maybe a third team. You may need a third team.
Correct, because McCollum's really, really good player, and I actually think that should be enough for Philly to want return because you still have Embiid as the focal point. So C.J. McCollum answers your need for a scoring guard, but he's not everything offensively, which is what he would be left with if they made that deal. So I'm still not sure if Portland would be in love with it.
Right. If I were Philly, though, let me get Embiid and Damian Lillard. We'll figure out the rest some other time.
I completely agree with that.
Thanks, Legs.
All right.
Time for 0 to the max, where we'll tell you if our concern for a team is